Opposers and proponents of new abortion-related legislation squared off at a California university campus on Friday. Proposition 1 would change the abortion laws in the state. Opponents say that some are being misled by the vague language in it, and they believe most Californians will vote it down when they realize what it does. NTD's Jason Blair reports.
Abortion is oppression!
Pro-Life San Francisco and Students for Life Berkeley went to the University of California Berkeley campus to oppose and raise awareness of Proposition 1. Prop 1, which will be on California's ballot this November, if passed, will amend abortion in California's constitution.
It will allow abortion up until the moment of birth electively, which means even 24 hours before your due date, you could just choose to get an abortion.
Currently, abortion in California is legal electively up until viability, which is about 24 weeks before a due date.
Whether you're pro-choice or pro-life, we shouldn't be supporting elective third trimester abortion. Most people don't support that, and the California legislator and the people who are in office are trying to misinform people about what it is. They're using vague language and not telling people what Proposition 1 actually does.
Pro-abortion group Rise Up for Abortion Rights were also out to counter-protest.
We're for legal abortion nationwide now without restrictions.
Period.
End of story.
This is a human rights issue. We need to be able to decide for our own, if I have a child and there's no school, should I really be forced at that moment to have to bring that pregnancy to term? No, absolutely not. I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
The demonstration was held last Friday and was part of a week of protest activities for Pro-Life San Francisco, one of the only pro-life groups in a largely pro-abortion city. They describe themselves as a multi-partisan, non-sectarian human rights group. Members have a mixture of backgrounds and include feminists, progressives, Christians, and vegans.
It just boils down to science for me. It's not a religious thing. It's not any of that. It's about human rights. It's about the scientific fact that life begins at conception. I actually have a biology degree, so that's kind of where my background is education-wise. Any embryology textbook will tell you that life begins at conception.
The groups marched to different areas of the college campus, squaring off a few times throughout the morning. Jason Blair, NTD News, California.
Over the weekend, friends and family of service members held a memorial for the lives lost during the United States withdrawal from Afghanistan. NTD's Jackie Reels spoke to a mother who was at the head of the convoy about the son who she can now only remember.
1 year ago, on August 26, 13 proud young American soldiers were killed in a terrorist attack in Afghanistan. This past Saturday, a caravan cruise was held to honor them. The Say Their Names cruise started in the Southern California city of San Clemente. The caravan was held to call on U.S. leadership to acknowledge the names of the service members who lost their lives that day. Leading the caravan was Shauna Chappelle, the mother of Lance Corporal Kareem Nikoi, one of the fallen soldiers.
This last year has been actually pretty hard for me and my family. Still trying to accept that Kareem is gone and not coming back, because there's still days where it's hard to believe that he's actually gone. And then also, as August approached, my oldest son started having more problems with the fact that his brother wasn't coming home, and he was missing him a lot and kept expressing he wanted to be with them. And August 9th, he took his own life.
Her second son's name was Dakota Halverson. The caravan gathered together at the Fallen 13 Memorial Garden Square in Narco, where ceremony took place. Friends, family, and community members came to the solemn event to honor Kareem and support for Chappelle.
I have my other kids too. They need their mom, I need them. So they keep me going. And I have my grandkids. I have 4 now because we just had 2 new ones added. And then, all the people that continue to show their love and support, Kareem's Marine brothers and everyone from my town. My town is very supportive, so it helps.
Chappelle recalled what was best about her son.
His personality. Kareem had a great personality. He always wanted to make sure everybody was laughing or smiling. So he would use his personality a lot to make sure you were laughing and smiling. And he was very, very caring, thoughtful, helpful. He was amazing in every way. As somebody, he was a person. He was my son. He was a good person. Like I said before, he was caring, thoughtful, helpful. Just a really great person. He was only 20 years old. He's never going to get to have a wife or children. He was good in every way.
The attack that took Nikoi's life happened last year as the United States withdrew from Afghanistan, marking the end of one of the longest wars in U.S. history.
We will forever be grateful to the 13 soldiers who sacrificed their lives in Afghanistan to keep our country safe. Jackie Rios, NTD News, California.
New data for a Southern California city says that the vast majority of robberies are being committed by homeless individuals. While grassroots efforts are trying to help, the councilman for the district wants the homeless to be able to remain in public places.
According to the Los Angeles Police Department, homeless people committed 90% of reported home burglaries in Venice Beach this summer. Venice, a small neighborhood in the city of Los Angeles, has the second most homeless people in Los Angeles County. 1,901 homeless people were recorded in the last homeless count conducted in 2020, behind Skid Row, which has more than 4,000. Last year, the city spent $5 million to rehouse 200 homeless people living on the boardwalk. But more than 20 tents have popped back up and remained on the beach since December 2021. Many of the homeless people living in the tents are mentally ill or addicted to drugs, making the area a hotspot for crime. Ansar El Mohammed, a longtime Venice resident and co-founder of a gang prevention youth coalition, the Helper Foundation, told the Epoch Times a complete audit is necessary for the community. He said that's necessary to find out, quote, how our tax dollars are being utilized to service the homeless population. City Councilman Mike Bonin of District 11, which covers Venice, supports homeless people to remain in public areas. Earlier this month, Bonin voted against banning homelessness near schools and daycare. He also champions several efforts to expand homeless shelters on the west side. Local polls also show voters want policymakers to clear encampments and provide more comprehensive solutions to help the homeless population, including those who refuse services. Bill Thomas, NTD News, Los Angeles.
California is investing more money into an existing project to house the homeless. It's part of an effort to address the homeless crisis.
Governor Gavin Newsom announced on Wednesday $694 million in a program called Home Key Awards. The goal is to create over 2,500 new homeless housing units statewide.
This is permanent supportive housing, but the idea, as Congresswoman Bass said, is to move people along, to address the underlying issues and allow people the opportunity to live in dignity and to get back on their feet.
The money would fund 35 projects in 19 communities statewide. Since 2020, Home Key has purchased hotels, motels, and other buildings. The total funding for Home Key is now at $3.75 billion. The governor also announced a pilot program on Thursday called Mobile Homeless Connect to provide homeless encampments with resources and services. It would start with the encampments along the 110 corridor in Los Angeles.
Speaking of heat, another hot California summer brought drought restrictions and occasional blackouts up and down the state once again. In an effort to ease the demand of power and water utilities, one company is installing solar panels over local waterways.
Project Nexus, a utility company in Central California, is hoping to relieve some pressure on power and water utilities. They're doing that by installing solar panels over its canal system in the Turlock Irrigation District, or TID. Project scientist Brandy McCuin from the University of Merced initially published the project idea in a research paper in 2021.
So there are multiple benefits of this project. First of all, covering canals with solar panels would reduce evaporation, so we could save water. Secondly, it would avoid land use. Thirdly, it could, by shading the canals with solar panels, it would reduce aquatic weed growth and algae growth, which would save on operating costs. And lastly, there's a cooler microclimate. So water heats up more slowly than land, and this could enhance the efficiency of PV electricity production.
The project is set to break ground mid-October in the towns of Hickman and Ceres. TID manager Josh Weimer explains some of the benefits for the company.
Putting solar panels over this canal, if it reduces the amount of aquatic growth, it's going to save the district money, it's going to save us man hours to be able to focus on other areas.
According to Mike Owen, the project could save 63 billion gallons of water, enough to supply 2 million people and irrigate 50,000 acres of cropland.
So if we implemented solar canals statewide across the 4,000 canals, we estimate it could produce 13 gigawatts of renewable capacity, which is roughly half of what the state of California needs to meet their renewable capacity goals to have carbon-free sources of electricity by 2030.
Though the project may be the first of its kind in the U.S., India was the first country to start putting solar panels over canals. Mike Quinn said her project performed a robust analysis to create a feasibility study specifically for California. Jackie Rios, NTD News, California.